And I'm back talking about Severance. I'm not attached to the show in any way, not getting paid for this, which I was, and you probably might consider me a super fan, maybe. So, in my document, in this next section, it says Natalie, the board secretary, gives off an uppity flair and treats Harmony with disdain as if she literally stinks. In fact, they both treat each other that way. And when they exchange greetings, like saying hello, their tone always sounds more like F you. I really want to know the backstory about that. Next section, the board's voices are never heard except by Natalie for the entirety of the season, except once when one of them says yes in response to Harmony asking if the board was there because she suspected that it was Natalie trying to fire her on her own accord. Excuse me. It's probably because they don't want to be recognized and conveniently fired Harmony the day she was supposed to meet up with them in person. Even when Harmony had a meeting with the board and only Natalie could hear, and for most of the interaction looked like a 1-year-old trying to pretend they weren't crapping themselves at the dinner table. In the next section, I suspect that Harmony's half dedication to the company may be, given the clues in her house, that she grew up going to schools controlled by Lumon. I also think she may be a distant cousin of Helly, or she has a parent that went to a school controlled by Lumon. I don't know why I get this feeling that she's related to Helly. I don't know. Next section, Petey was able to map out parts of the floor that no one else from his department nor the viewers have seen because he was able to smuggle one out. That again proved that the elevators, in fact, do not have code detectors. And more so, him being able to sneak out a recording of Mark in the break room is a real doozy. And that one threw me for a loop. I'm like, how did he get okay. My understanding was that when people went to the break room, it was just them and Milchick, or them, Milchick, and Harmony. But it sounded like Mark's voice on that recording. I'm like, well, how did he get that? So that's a question that needs answering. In the next section, let's see. It is a wonder why Petey ignored calls from Dr. Ragabi. He seems to be fully competent about what he wanted. He seemed to be fully competent about what he wanted, needed, and was acknowledging his reality. It's highly likely that she's not exactly who she says she is or what she wants to do, at least not completely. Because in the scene, in the special scene where Mark meets her, she tells him that Petey didn't follow all of the instructions, and that's why he was having issues. And I was sitting there wondering, like, why didn't he complete the instructions? What happened? So that's another unanswered question. Next section, I wonder if Ragabi cleaned up Mark's vomit after she beamed Graner to death with an aluminum bat. I mean, Upchuck doesn't smell like roses, so it's very possible that she realized he puked unless she left through another exit. I don't know about everybody else, but I'm really susceptible to that smell, and I'm not one of those people who get sick if they smell or see somebody get sick, but I always instantly recognize that smell. I was like, oh no, where is it coming from? So hopefully she was able to clean it up. Next section. Unfortunately, during the escape, Annie Irvin's main concern was Bert G., the supervisor from O&D, the optics and design department, which may end up getting him arrested for harassment and disturbing the peace. Maybe. Maybe. In the next section, it says, before the Great Escape, when Annie Burt retired, I'm sure the company suggested it to his Audi, in effect, killing Annie Burt. Just like Irving said, like, he's not, as far as anybody who is severed knows, like, once you leave the company, that's it for that, version of that person. In the next section, the break room apology gives the feeling of, if what the company is really doing is found out, that the Severed will be taking pre-recorded credit for the destruction caused, which is a really scary thought. So far, during the course of the season, its victims have been Helly, Mark, Miss Gacy, and Bert, the day before he retires, but only Helly's is shown. So, and then there's always this feeling of, okay, when Petey said, what was it? How did he put it? It's not what they say it is. It crossed my mind that maybe what they see on the severed floor is not actually what they're seeing, which I'll get into more later in another video. Let's see. Next section, Irving putting Lumon into a space of religion, maybe because it's the only way he could make sense of his world. Because that was, before the Great Escape, that's all he knew. And I also noticed that Harmony had what looked to be like a prayer area with Lumen stuff or Lumen related stuff, and it's like, but I do realize, like, okay, her and Irving, and I think there was somebody else that treated it almost like a religion, and some of the stuff that they say and how they say it, especially with Kier quotes, does come off like a religious cult. Let's see. Next section. How and why does Harmony have a key to Mark's house? And also, does she have access to other people's houses? So, yeah. Because she was... How do you get a key to his house? Next section. A working theory is that the work that the Severed do is meant to test their mental limits, see how much they can be controlled, and make them do really horrible things that the Severed ones perceive as mundane. It may be that they, the Severed, who are the actual work, making them essentially lab rats. And especially when, in the scenes in the first episode, when Mark's walking through the halls and all the halls are white and he's making all these turns, it was just so giving lab rats. Next section about, that's what I'm covering in the next section. About 10 minutes into the first episode, Mark is shown coming into work and makes no less than 14 turns between the elevator and his department, passing at least as many doors, and never once is anyone else seen or heard in the halls. In fact, the vast majority of that floor appears to be completely devoid of any activity, human or machine, except for the maybe 17 people singing throughout the episodes. This would make it easier to track employee movements and harder to escape. The layout is, again, the layout is really given lab rat maze. And it does. It's like, and all the doors are closed. So it's like no one ever tries the doors to see if they're unlocked in the places that they haven't been. Like, And then again, maybe Petey's map was based off of opening doors, and just like maybe he, you know, mentally or maybe he kept track of where Graner, like maybe there were times when he knew that Graner, Harmony, and Milchick were not going to see him, and maybe he was checking doors, and that's how he was mapping out the separate floor. Maybe it wasn't, you know, necessarily sleep deprivation. In this case, maybe he was like opening doors, like going around the building opening doors. Let's see. About 10 minutes into the first episode, Mark is shown coming into work and, oh, I already read that part. Okay. I suspect that Helly has been severed many, many times, and the R is used in place of her last name instead of E, because that's possible. It means that she's been severed 18 times. Or the R might stand for a word having to do with her role in the experiment. I wonder this because the any is kind and logical. The version that said she couldn't leave was crass and cold, and the version that was in the stairwell seemed empathetically concerned that she might want to leave. Then again, the rejection video may have somehow been faked. Doctor. I said in another video that they may have been pre-recorded, which makes sense at least with her the first time she got rejected, not the second time. But it's very possible that maybe they had some version of them like record lots of different rejections that just seemed like they were done on different days when they really weren't, you know. I don't know. So yeah. Yeah. Because in the second time that Helly's that Helly wanted attempted to quit, like the way they're supposed to, the Helly in the video specifically addressed the finger incident. So we'll have to see though. And we're done.